This podcast is sponsored by Medtronic Foundation.
Hello everyone, we are once again broadcasting from downtown Atlanta at the Johnson STEM Activity Center, otherwise known as JSAC, where students learn to design and build code, robots, build relationships, and of course have fun. My name is Sophia Huynh, your host for today, and I'm so excited to talk with today's guest, who has been an essential part of JSAC. A senior at Georgia Tech studying mechanical engineering, our guest has been with JSAC for many years, building an extensive background in robotics. Starting robotics since elementary, she has competed in a multitude of competitions, becoming the captain of the 100 Scholars team and captain of May's robotics team in high school, and now serving as the robotics coach for 100 Scholars Robotics Alliance teams. Passionate about students getting involved in science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as STEAM, our guest also enjoys playing music, dancing, and creating art in her spare time. When we asked for her favorite quote, she replied, "And if you can't see anything beautiful about yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer, stare a little longer, because there's something inside you that made you keep trying despite everyone who told you to quit." Everyone, please welcome Kite Harvey.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. To start off, so you provided us with that quote, and I think it's very profound. Can you give me a little bit more of information about why this quote resonates with you specifically, and how this quote really shapes your own outlook on life?
Yeah, so this quote was actually from a poem called To This Day. I heard it back in middle school, and it's always just stuck with me. I like that quote specifically because, on my route through engineering and school, and, for anyone else's route, people can say a lot of things about what they think you should be doing, and it's no one else's choice to dictate what you do except yourself. And, when you're in spaces where you feel like you're isolated, it's important for you to find the beauty in yourself, and that will start to show in the things that you produce.
Definitely. So shifting towards the topic of STEAM that we talked about before, science, technology, engineering, and art, and math, what are some of your first memories getting involved with it?
Yeah, so I first got involved with robotics specifically when I was in elementary school, and my parents wanted me to be involved in some of the science, technology, engineering, math things that my school had to offer. And my school had the Robo Pandas, which was our robotics team. And in the 5th grade, I just remember being in my teacher's class, Ronnie Thomas. He had the NXT bricks, which was fundamental for FLL at the time, and I just remember tinkering with those, going through my exploration process, and really enjoying the experience. And my elementary school was actually very diverse, so being in a space where I felt comfortable to just play around with things and learn just really helped me stay with robotics.
Yeah, and you started fairly young, but what kind of do you think sparked your interest or started that drive to even continue up to now, to even starting coaching?
The coaches that I had,
yeah,
100%. So like I said, Ronnie Thomas was my initial coach. And then when I went to middle school, I was on an all-girls robotics team, the Lady Eagle Bots. And I had my science teacher, Ms. Hall. She was the coach at the time, and she was always very passionate and excited about getting us to learn things. And FLL, you have these tables where you set up your robot and these different missions, and we had our own pink table with us being an all-girls team. And that was my first time realizing that you can do these technical things and do it in style. From there, my engineering high school teacher, he's probably the most fundamental when it comes to my passion to continue doing robotics for other students, because he taught me the fundamentals, and it was the first time I got to take robots home and then actually spend the intimate time figuring out robots and what do these things do. And there's just a lot of learning in that process, and I that's all attributed to him. And I've had my other coach, Mr. Platt, which was more tied to being here. and just all these different people, my coaches that, have made this environment where learning is fun and I can continue doing what I want to do.
Nice. So what are some of the hardships that you've had to overcome through robotics, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so with learning robotics, another thing that I've had to overcome is not letting people take experiences away from you, because when I was on the team in high school, I think I was the only girl at the time, especially during senior year, and the boys, they always wanted to do everything.
Right.
And, it's like a group project, robotics. There's a lot of things you have to do, and the product that you produce is not just a representation of the people that are doing it, but it's a representation of everybody. And I realized when things weren't getting done, if you guys aren't going to do it, someone has to do it, and that person's going to be me, because I want this product, I want our robot to be cool, I want our robot to be efficient, and I want this to be something that we can all be proud of.
Nice. And then tag teaming off of that, you said you're a part of the all-girls team as well.
Yeah.
How do you think that experience is unique to maybe compared to other robotics teams?
Yeah, so I'll even use for reference being here. So as a coach, I've had girls come to the team, and some of them and when I initially got here, there were some girls on the team that didn't really like the experience too much, and I feel like that's because the people around them didn't make the experience what it was supposed to be.
Right.
And I think when I was on the team, on the all-girls team, I never felt not comfortable, and you kind of need that space to get comfort first before you can actually get into the grit of everything. So I think that helped me a lot to build my confidence before getting into the teams in high school.
Right. It's kind of that community building to make sure that you're comfortable enough to even start.
Yeah.
Nice. And then how has some of your experiences or background influenced your outlook on the importance of teaching students about robotics?
Yeah, so I think it teaches you a lot about life and school and college, because with robotics, things are gonna go wrong. It's inevitable. You're gonna have failures sometime, and you have to figure out how to pick yourself back up. And I think robotics teaches you a certain mindset, a certain perseverance, a certain dedication that, when things go wrong, let me analyze the situation, let me do step by step, let's see what I can do to fix the situation and go from there, instead of, getting overwhelmed and freaking out. And, life is like that. Things will happen, and, you want to be able to approach it with a calm mindset, and robotics, teaches you that patience.
And now that you're a coach, it kind of creates this really interesting dynamic, right? Because you are transitioning from being an active participant in a lot of these competitions to now teaching a lot of these students in the same competitions that you've competed in. How do you feel that this experience helps you specifically as a coach and help other students as well?
Yeah, so I think the place that leaders or bosses fail the most is that they don't understand the experience that they're cultivating. They don't understand the environment that they are creating. And, as a student, I can look at my instruction from what would I need? What is the experience that I was lacking as a student? How would a student approach this? And, I'm learning a lot too throughout this whole process. So I'm being a student with them, and I just want to make sure that, when students, there's this thing that my students like to call kite problems, and those are the things that they just cannot figure out for whatever reason. And I try not to just give instruction. When they come to me with an issue, I try to say, hey, let's look at this. What do you think went wrong here? I always try to answer their question with a question, so they can start thinking about, okay, let's get this problem solving going on. What can they do to fix this on their own? I think it's a very, very big pet peeve of mine, leaders or coaches that just want to give instruction, say what they think their ideals are right, without ever being in that experience. So
right.
I am by far not the best coach in the world. There are a lot of things that I can do better as an engineer, as a coach, as a teacher, but I definitely try to come from a understanding point of view when they need instruction.
Yeah, and it sounds like oftentimes it's not just the question at hand, it's kind of changing their whole mindset about how they approach the question in the first place. So your team also recently won in South Carolina and also has been a finalist for the past 2 years, which is no small feat at all. So what do you attribute to the success of your teams, and what are some of the challenges that you face during these competitions?
100% my students. They're the reason why we won. I think I have the best students in the world. Granted, I may be a bit biased, but I really do think they are awesome. And when I first started coaching, this was like right after COVID, right at the end of COVID, so we didn't really have any students. And like I think we went to competition with 3 students, 1 or 2 of which had just come that week. So like they never really got that experience of, robotics like it should have been. And now we have a full team of students. And like I'm so proud of them in the fact that they approach things with a, okay, so what can I do next mindset? Because even like we won in South Carolina and we faced a few issues at the next competition. And, even in my head, I was feeling a bit discouraged. And they're already like, okay, I know what we're going to do next year. We're going to do this, that, and the other. I have these ideas. And I'm like, I can't ask for a better team. You guys just, keep that dedication up and we're going to get so far. So that's 100% to them.
How has your experience in robotics helped you in some of the other aspects that you work with?
How has it helped? You get exposed to a lot of STEM related things with robotics, and I think it really ties everything together. I can make the connection to, why did we get exposed to this in the first place? It's just kind of like a, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now. Full circle moment when like you get exposed to these things and then you see it again in the real world and like in the work environment, and you can say, oh, okay, this is why we were learning that. So I think it gave me a bit of a like a heads up on what I was going to be doing, so it came more easily when I got into the workplace.
Nice. And I know that you've worked specifically with GTRI, which is the Georgia Tech Research Institute, for the Energy and Sustainability Lab, as well as the Candida Living Building as well. Can you talk a little bit more about the work that you did there?
Yes, so I had a pretty interesting experience. In high school, I was in the engineering pathway, and once you in the engineering pathway, you get the opportunity to work at a research lab at Georgia Tech. So I worked at a research lab in the Energy and Sustainability Lab for 2 years, and then once I got into tech, I worked for 2 more years as an actual intern research engineer. And it was a really insightful, cool project. So we worked with piezoelectricity, which for people that don't know is like energy generated due to mechanical stress. So if you go to the Kennedy Space Center, there's actually a mosaic of hexagonal tiles that have a piezoelectric piece, a solar panel, LEDs, and some other cool stuff in it. And basically it takes foot traffic from the people and stores that for other applications. The Candida building was another sustainability project. I was in the SURF project, which was the SURF Sustainable Undergraduate Research Fellows, and we got the chance to work on a living building project where the building creates net positive energy. So, different things go on at the building that go back to sustainability and protecting the environment and using the environment to keep the building alive.
Yeah, and so for those who might not necessarily know what net positive energy kind of entails, can you go a little bit more in depth about that and why it's important for us to know?
Yeah, so energy is a really big thing right now, and we create a lot of like waste, energy waste too, and you want to be able to use more positive forms of energy, because like we're having like this oil crisis right now, for instance, and if we can try to generate energy in better ways so that it basically gives back, it's this interconnected relationship versus just using it and then it's wasted. It is a way to find more positive energy uses like for the future.
Cool. And then outside of academic and professional pursuits, you're also a musician, you're a dancer, and an artist. Do you perhaps see any intersections or intersectionality between art and engineering?
I think that you cannot have one without the other, and people have different views on that. I try to go into any project I have with the ideal of like almost this childlike viewpoint of what is this creation going to be. Try to be creative, try to look at how is it going to look, how is this going to feel. I think the most successful products in the market have some component of engineering and this aestheticness for them to be successful.
Right.
And not just in a robotics related or product related, but I think that for my students, I try to show them that you can find these artistic parts of yourself. You can find whatever parts of yourself. All of that can be used into the stuff that you do. You don't have to sacrifice parts of yourself to be an engineer. You can be whatever you want to be and still do these amazing things. So yes, 100% art is related. We wouldn't have the design process for a reason if you didn't look at stuff from a design standpoint. And like my students, not even just my students, people get on me all the time about like, you don't have to make it look nice. I disagree. It does have to look nice, and it will also work.
Yes.
And then when people like, judges will come to the pit, people will come to the pit during competition, and they'll say like, oh man, your robot looks cool. And then I have to look at them and be like, see? This wouldn't happen had you not added the aesthetics,
it's the main selling
personality.
Point. Right. Also, I'm sure you hear this question a lot, but as a senior who's about to graduate in the fall, where do you kind of see yourself in the future? Is there anything you aspire to do as your future career?
So that has evolved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they have, or like we have like Transformers kids and like Marvel kids, Iron Man kids specifically.
Right.
I was a real Steel kid. I was a Pacific Rim kid, and for
Love
those
that
haven't seen Pacific Rim, there are Jaegers and Kaijus, and I always thought, okay, I'm gonna be a Jaeger pilot. I'm gonna build one. It's gonna be the coolest thing ever. They're like these huge giant mechs. They're like the size of Godzilla. That was my initial plan as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But then that evolved to I want to create my own inventions. I want to create things. I just want to go to college to get the skill set to make the things that I want. And even during COVID, I spent a lot of time, because everyone was at home, just like drafting through ideas of things I want to create. I'm going to definitely come back to those at some point. But I want it to become an inventor. I want it, like in my world, the celebrities are like Lonnie Johnson and Dean Kamen, who is the founder first. And I still want to have my own robotics competition or have my own STEM facility. That is something that I am 100% going to do at some point. I guess more recently, as someone that is like really, really into Disney stuff, I've been seeing a lot more about the engineering side of Disney, and like I think it would be super cool to be able to work for like the Disney Imagineering projects. I just saw recently like the people that made the animatronics for Mama Odie and Princess and the Frog, and like the engineering team that was part of that.
Right.
And it was the demographic that you would expect to see, and I was like, yeah, no, I want to be part of this. I want to make a difference in this area, and I think it's important to get into the fields that you like and doing something that you love to do. And I know that I'd love to do something with Disney related and still do engineering. So.
Beautiful. You've also been with JSAC for over 10 years now. How would you describe JSAC's influence on who you are today? Some of your own personal beliefs or just shaped how you are?
Yeah, gosh, I feel so dated. So this is like my home away from home, especially during like FRC season when I just need a place to think, when I need to get away from everybody. And you would think that doing robotics is not the de-stressing thing to do, but like when you really like doing robotics, it's just something that you can mindlessly do almost. So like having this space where I can just do whatever and feel at home and create these things, I wouldn't be able to do that without JSAC being here. Like I even remember when the space that we have FRC was just like an electrical room. So now to be able to see students from all walks of life, of all ages, coming through and getting inspired and being able to see everyone's creations is just such a beautiful thing to me.
Yeah.
So.
You've definitely been here from the start.
Yeah.
So your passion for STEAM education is very evident. Why do you believe it's crucial for students to get involved in STEAM activities, and how do you envision fostering more interest and diversity in these fields?
Yeah, so like I said, I do want to start my own robotic competition and like STEAM facility. I'm always gonna have a connection to being here at JSAC. Like I definitely, it's something that is a part of me at this point. Like I always want to inspire people younger than me and people older than me. I want to inspire anyone that this is something that you can do. Doesn't matter who you are, Like if a 5-year-old can come in here and learn coding, then you can do it too. I definitely just, if I keep spreading the word, if we get JSAC on the map, like this is the place that, people can come and find their own passion in STEM activities.
And kind of continuing that train of thought, last but not least, what advice would you give to those who might be interested in learning more about robotics or about engineering in general?
Yeah, engineering, robotics, mechanical engineering is hard. And that is not to discourage anyone. That is just to give everyone a heads up. But, if you really want to get involved in it, you have to realize that there are going to be some failures, but there's also a lot of learning, and it's going to be so rewarding at the end if you stick with it. Also that the route is sometimes a long one, especially for engineering, and you have to remember that your route is your own. As long as you are creating experiences along the way and learning at all times and growing and developing yourself, then this is the thing for you. Just face it with an open mind and you'll get very far.
Nice. Thank you so much, Kyte. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And thank you all, our audience, for watching and listening. Without viewers and listeners like you, this podcast simply would not be possible. To learn more about JSAC or to listen to previous episodes, go to www.johnsonstem.org. And again, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.